integrated to be shown, yeah, and just of the letting go and being here, open for Heaven's Cross. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I've felt so many times too, that I was kind of empty, no connection to my soul, like I would be just a vessel, a material vessel, and nothing else. This was really being not in contact, yeah, with my soul, with anything in my body. And then sometimes slowly it came back, but in a new way. It was then kind of enlightened. So, like my body was brought to the other realms, and then coming back, this were really sometimes, I don't want to say strange experiences, in a way strange and beautiful as well. Yeah, so this was my recent time.
Yeah, I was last weekend with my two daughters on the World of Music Festival in Adelaide. We went all 4 days, and I did that 2 years ago together with them, and enjoyed it very much. And I enjoyed it very much with them this time again. But I had a few hiccups on the first evening. I fell and tore my hamstring, that meant that I was limping a little bit the next 4 days. Couldn't dance as I wanted, but I enjoyed it nevertheless. And because it was always very late nights until you get home, it's 1 o'clock, and this 4 days in a row. After that, I got sick, caught a virus or something, and was in bed for 3 days. And in a way, I enjoyed this as well. It gave me some peace and quiet, and of course my daughters were fine.
When the time comes in your life when you say, okay, 9 o'clock, oh, that's very late already.
yes, like today. Yeah, no, and that was my last week, and of course very weird dreams, ancestors, my father coming up a few times, and lots of, I think I do a lot of dream work at the moment, and yeah, and looking forward to on Heaven's Cross, we planned to meet with a few Shaumbra friends at my place, and two of them were saying, yeah, let's make a big party, make a dinner party, and the two noisiest ones are the ones that just said, we can't come, we need time for ourselves. But we still go ahead. So a very small group will meet on Wednesday evening in my place, and we say, well, we just meet 10 hours before the Crimson Circle does, because we are Australia, we are ahead of time.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I haven't even planned for 3 days ahead. I kind of just live a day by day. So thanks for reminding that there will be some kind of Crimson Circle meeting to check out what's going on. I mean, 3 days ahead, that's like a century still. That's like, it feels like, for me, it feels like that now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes
same here normally.
Yeah, sometimes it seems very far. This day, 22 of March, and sometimes it is oh God, is now, it's not in 5 days or 6 days, and sometimes, for example, I don't remember in what day I'm leaving. And every time I need to ask my mind, okay, in what day I'm living? It's because sometimes it's Monday, but I wake up like it's Sunday. Oh, today it's Sunday. Yeah. And in the beginning, I try to stop this feeling. And I say, no, if I feel it's Sunday, it's Sunday. It doesn't matter if the calendar say it's Monday or Tuesday. I need to flow in my feelings, no? And if the feeling to feel it's Sunday, it's joyful, it's wow, it's full of joy. I say, okay, today it's Monday. So this period for me, it's like a roller coaster because I need to release very old aspects. So I need time to breathe, to be quiet. And after I feel joy. Oh yeah, like I am a multimillionaire and I'm going to do very nice things. So it's to breathe and after to feel joy and say, okay, but I'm here and I'm not doing anything in this reality. So it's like a massive feelings come to me and feel potential before, more than before, not only my potential, but potential around. Because in the past I felt the earthquake and now it's or other potential. So it's like the universe, the entire universe is around me with different sensations and feelings and blah, 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 and energies. Yeah.
And Doris,
And,
oh, sorry, you go.
No.
I was going to
okay.
ask, Doris was telling us about her wonderful island. She was multidimensionally hopping to her island potential because you're talking about potential. So I'm wondering what's going on with that.
It's so beautiful. It's last time I think it was in January or February I've been talking about. And then I just let it go, being calm, let things develop, but it's just this island which appears the moment I close my eyes, or I'm in a daydream, it's there. And before of oh, did I tell you when I mentioned last time, I said it's 15 billions, and then I discovered, oh no, it's so cheap, it's only 50 millions. No, it's so cheap. It's a special price because I didn't read the numbers in a correct way, and I laughed.
So
about
it's 15 million US dollars.
50 million US dollars. Yeah.
Wow, that's much cheaper than 50 billion.
Yes. 15 millions. It's nothing. I can afford it. And I mean, you know, my bank account, there isn't much on it, but still I do feel this incredible abundance within. And it's coming to me whenever I think about it. I only feel joy, expansion within myself. My soul tells me trust, trust, trust. Don't think about you need the money for it or whatever goes on. And there's a little film about it. It's called Loloma. For those who, Marcia, you don't know it. It's an island in belonging to Fiji, and it's called Loloma. And Loloma means love. And I felt so much this incredible love. And of course, once it's here present within myself, I create beautiful houses. there's a jungle. I don't know how many hectares, really rainwood. And as I once read, the orchids are naturally grown up in the rainwood on the tree. So I got the impression I collect the orchids from all over the world, and this will be an orchid rainwood. So things like that, they just pop up. There's so much synchronicity. Whenever I should know something, I read it. You mentioned it once too. And so this is extremely alive within me. But I know I have to be patient. At the right time, it will show up. On the other hand, and my soul showed me extremely what's going on here in the house. I do live here since 13 years, and it was more or less quiet. But with new neighbors, I can't sleep anymore.
Wow.
They make noise above me. They bought this apartment and repaired, doing the in a douche, things like this. And this means next to me, my wall is like I would sit next to a waterfall. And I mean, not only coming the water down, this would be okay, but if people are going to the toilet and I hear everything sitting next on my dining table, that's not so nice. And I was crying once. I couldn't stand by myself. I mean, I talked with them, I explained what's going on here. They're trying to be not to be so loud. But anyway, I mean, I hear it. And this came so up so clearly from my soul. Okay, that's the kick in the ass. Get out of here. This is not an environment for you. And it came up so clearly. Really, I wanted to move since years. And now it's so clear, no matter what, if you have money for moving on or not, it's dive into your reality. And this is also reality, not here living here in this part of the world. So this is, and I'm sure with the opening of Heaven's Crossing, I've experienced the opening deeply, deeply there, also the weeks before. So it's just, I told some friends, the crack in the egg became bigger. But I know I have to wait until after Heaven's Cross to let all those things to walk through the other realms, to let it come into my life. So, as you know, you're all invited to come to Fiji and spend your time there, because it is unique. I told my soul once I move, I want to move to a place with a feeling of new earth and divinity. It has to be, and this place is so unique, so and not touched by humans very much, and not touched by society. So this is really a very old form of part of the earth, not spoiled in a way from humans. And I know it. Yeah, that's it. So I just have to be patient.
Yeah, it feels like you're carrying that within yourself already, and it's growing there.
Yeah, it is really growing. I sense it, I feel it. And you mentioned the last time, just bring your energy there, or your consciousness. So I asked my soul, is it a manipulation if I bring my light already there? And my soul was dancing. No, bring on all your light, your consciousness, the awareness onto this island. And since I did it, it's but you felt it really. It's like this. It's growing and growing, and until one day I can say, okay, now and what my soul told me the last days, it's not necessary that you have the money. Maybe it just comes to you. Don't depend on the money. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
it's just there.
Yeah.
So depending on the money is also an old pattern. And there was so much synchronicity in my life. I got things I never would have thought. I expected to have some more money in my bank account. It doesn't, there came, not the money came, but the materials I did need. They just, they came as a gift to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that the home is a big issue for the human side because the mass consciousness has many beliefs about home. I know because I'm living this, because I choose to live in my very nice home.
Mhm.
But for many years, my aspect continue to say to me, money, you need the job. Because in this moment, in Italy, for example, if you don't have a permanent job, the owners of houses don't
Mhm.
give you the house, because they want that you need to have a permanent job. So you need to have a solid or permanent salary. My aspect continue to say, okay, how I can have a home if I don't have a permanent job? And there are many aspects and many issues, for example, around the home. So in this moment, I need to release all this blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, I'm here, I exist, I breathe, and it's my right to have my home. Because when I feel my soul, there is the home, because I exist. It's like, oh gosh, I have my home. It's linked because I am a part of my soul. And it seems so simple to have a home. And there is no blah blah about money, about jobs, about. So in this moment, I know I need my home to express myself, to be myself. In my human side need to do this. And I need to release all this blah 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 in the mind. Because sometimes home arrived in a way that the human side cannot imagine the resources and energies and something like that. Yeah. In this moment, I noticed that home is very important issue for understand the aspects and other energetic things. Yeah, I am agree with you, Doris. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like
remember
money.
Adamus was saying a year ago or so, make sure you have a comfortable home, because you will need some space for you where you can be a little bit away from all the world around you. And if you have a home where you are comfortable in and feels and have a safe space, that is a great advantage. Even so, I agree with Marcia that we all have our home in our hearts, but within ourselves, within our soul. But I'd rather be in a warm home than in a tent, tent somewhere in the wilderness on my own. Maybe because I'm too old for this also.
Yeah, sorry, you go.
I've had too these last days. I did let go all the bondages to this village, to this house, to this to this apartment here, I didn't cut it through, but I just decided to let it go. No bondages anymore, because I felt it's not a worthiness for a master being, and that's it. Our home is within, but we are human, so we also need a home to live on, and became very important for me to be on a place where I can expand myself, where I can expand my divinity, where I can live it in a new way, and not being disturbed by neighbors day and night.
Because that is very it's very disturbing to how you feel in your energy. You know, you don't have that peace, and it's hard to then be part of you know, your own self, and go inside and create and imagine. Absolutely. I remember, Hans Christian, when Adamus was saying that, but he's actually been saying that. Saint Germain has been reminding us, Michael also, all of our non-physical friends, that, you know, like, we do need to create this physical home. It is a huge thing, or somewhere where we can go out and dig and be undisturbed, and all of these kind of things. And like you, Master Martia, said, yes, it's a huge part, and it's part of this feeling safe, and feeling, because we have such history of not feeling safe. You know, we were unsafe, we were burnt as wizards and witches, or we were persecuted, we were put, you know, we have these lifetimes that are now so close to us, because they're coming closer and closer into this now moment where they have been persecuted, they have been ejected from the village, from society, you know, like where, and then in the old days, in those kind of days, you know, like that meant death, really, when you were rejected out from a village, from a town, and all sorts of. So we have all of these kind of issues that have to come and integrate, and that feeling of unworthiness, that we feel perhaps we're not worthy of that kind of, you know, home and this kind of luxury, because also we have a history of identifying as spiritual, and spiritual is supposed to be poor, you know, that all of those kind of patterns, and that's a bit through our ancestry, through all of that. Like you were saying, they all are coming out now, for all, including me, for everyone, you know, like all of these kind of old things. But then there is also another issue, the bigger issue of what the world is going on, you know, like what, let's say, the stars, also the mass consciousness are saying this year is huge for material things, like for banks, for finances, for all of this. And we are here also to transmute and transform that, to create new kind of, you know, to not be slaves to that, because other people, mass consciousness people, are so enslaved to the system, so desperately, deeply enslaved to the system, and we are also given that to resolve within ourselves, so that we find those ways out. So a lot of these issues that we're dealing with is not even ours, and that, in a way, it's not ours. They're not ours because we take them on behalf of mass consciousness, to find solutions, to find new ways how to do economy in a new way, in a way that hasn't been done before. And at the same time, also, it does belong to us, because we have patterned it in our energy. And once we pattern it in our energy, it is ours in a way that, because then it creates our reality out of that patterning. So we have to resolve it. So you see, there are two ways of looking at things. It isn't ours because it is part of mass consciousness, and that helps not to have to put all of those judgments on, because when there are judgments, they're like a sticky tape, you know, like once you put a judgment, it sticks to you, it doesn't let go, it doesn't go into the neutral. So all of these judgments, like you know, whatever we have, the mass consciousness has all these judgments about things, and that makes it still part of our own energy. Then it doesn't move. Once we let go of judgments, it nicely just flows through, and it doesn't we don't identify it, and we don't then create out of that. So then the next level of this financial, all of these financial things that especially mass consciousness is experiencing in a big way, safety issues, survival even, because as you know, like people are having such hard time to survive, even families, and with all that is happening. So we're also feeling that. But then the next issue is, which also, you know, Saint Germain and others, Adamus and others have asked us, now is time really to feel free energy. So I've been sort of really starting to allow free energy. A few months ago, I realized, well, I don't actually really know what this means. Like I know the word, and Adamus talks about it a lot, free energy, this, free energy, that, but I've never really felt it. You know, like I never really experienced it in myself. And until I experience it in myself, it's never going to be a reality for me. So then I've started to really open myself up for the first time, really consciously in this way. What could it possibly mean? How does it feel like? What does it mean? How does it support my life? And that this all has to do with this, you know, Heaven's Cross and all of it, because these levels of support, inner support in everything, in everyday things, in survival, in our homes, all has to do with this connection, you know, with the human and the soul, and feeling that incredible flow of support in all ways, including the financial way, from the soul. Because before we were, you know, supported by the human mind, and now there's that huge change in the human mind, you know, and the system that was created out of that is the way it is, the way we perceive it, the way mass consciousness is. But now it really is the time for each of us to really feel and experience, what does that free energy really mean? Because unless we do it, it's not going to become reality. And I think that once we really start feeling it and experiencing it, and not starting to not work with it, then it can start, you know, seeping into the reality where we then, like Master Marcia said, we can then support ourselves without the job, without these things. But until we feel, this is the only place where we can actually then create out of this kind of life. Because otherwise, you know, I mean, we've done it in many ways, like where we, you know, perhaps someone inherits something and all of that kind of stuff, but there must be more to it than that. Like, you know, it is time to, for me, I'm realizing it's time to really see how does that work? How does it support me? How can I allow that free energy to support me in my life, and then create out of that? And I think that will then enable me to create in this huge big way, you know, because for me it's like wow, now it's time to create in this huge massive way, you know. And I've still been creating in a small way, as before. So one of the things that I've been doing is like all of a sudden now on the social media and stuff, I've been getting all these incredible photos that people create out of imagination, or is it AI, or I have no idea, but just these new houses so integrated with the natural environment, and all these beautiful things, like what you, Doris, has also emailed. And I just kind of download the picture, and I've started a folder, new Earth or something, and I just put all these new pictures, because it helps me to create, because I can't from my own self always have all these ideas, you know. Some other people have this talent with architecture, and you know, that then give me my ideas of, wow, even this is possible, you know. So it's wonderful that we have this kind of connection, that we can inspire each other with whatever talents that we have, to then increase our imagination in creative abilities.
Yeah, it's very interesting to speak with other Shambra always, because, for example, I lived in a part of Italy some time ago, in front of the sea. And every day I really wanted to walk in a harbor, where is the yacht, many yachts. And every day I pick it up my book and write how I can build my green technology yacht, very huge, with full of green technology to not impact much with the earth and the sea. So for 2 years, I image and scratch my I am that I am yacht. And after 1 year, I discovered that a team is created a yacht, something like I drawn or wrote. It's a lab for the moment, but when I watch this documentary, I say, oh, it's amazing. And I want really in a minute, I say, oh, I want to write to this team, because I really, I have many ideas how to manage green technology for the earth and for the yacht. But sometimes it seems like a Star Trek yacht because the technology is not in this moment is not so high on the earth. So
But this
sometimes
is what our friends are telling us, like including, you know, Adamus and all of our friends are telling us to dream big. Our job is to imagine, and then those scientists and all of those people who actually have that skills and knowledge, they will then create on behalf of us. We don't actually have to physically create something. We just imagine it and dream it.
yeah, but my yacht is so beautiful, and I say to my soul that now it's time that I leave it, not the other, but myself.
Oh no, I understand that. Yes, that you can live, but perhaps you don't have to actually create it. You know, it's wonderful that you found people that are actually utilizing what you imagined. You know, and now, yes, yeah. This is this just beauty of this kind of creating. You know, that yes, they're building it for you, but it, like physically, you know, we don't actually have to build it, but yeah, we have to find out how it becomes ours, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
They built it and it comes to us.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
thing, isn't it?
But that's exactly what I experienced, or I got these impressions too. I have so many ideas also of breaking materials, how it comes to get new materials, so many inventions, let's say. But I know it's not up to me to create it. I bring my ideas into another reality, and people then can pick it from there. And sometimes afterwards, yeah, it will serve me. For instance, building these houses there on Dodoma on in Fiji. I had so many ideas, and thought, well, how do I bring all this material to this island? And then, okay, you sit there, you create. It's like it's coming out from a 3D printer. It's just your ideas. Bring your imaginations on this island, and it will be there. Don't bother about anything, how it does get there. It just won't be there. So I felt really this new, and I did the same like you, Alexis. I was wondering, what is the difference between new energy, free energy, just my energy, energy, my light, fluid light combined with my energy. And I got the impression, and I felt it very deeply. It's just this new free energy is creating what it's our consciousness. It's creating what we want, and then let it happen.
Yeah, like Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
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 he image and he scratch, for example, the helicopters and something like that. So the man could fly, and it's okay. So yeah, it's not about to be a genius. It's about to flow in the imagination and the potentials. I don't believe in the word genius, because everybody can flow in the imagination, in the potential, in create, no? It- because genius is like, oh, it's a very special person, and I cannot do this. No, you can. Maybe it's the problem of the mass consciousness, no? The mass consciousness say people like genius, so they can because they are genius, and the other people cannot because they are not genius. But it's not true. Maybe now, after the Evencross, people can feel this, no? Because the veil is more smaller, and people can feel that they can imagine, they can do, they can have a private island or something like that in their imagination, and
And a lot of things like has already happened like that, isn't it? It's like when you look at, let's say, the last couple of years, you know, with the crypto and stuff, there's so many people became millionaires and billionaires overnight, and then they did go and buy islands and all of these kind of things. But before I forget, Doris, we have a way now to get to your island, Master Marzia's yacht. We'll now have a way to get to your island. That's wonderful. I mean, but isn't it incredible how we're all imagining and dreaming all these new potentials and new things, and it's not like it's even fantasy anymore. It's really like becoming tangible, you know, and a reality. And we have our own little niche where we can kind of create, you know, these kind of worlds.
yeah. Yeah, we can use my yacht because it's so huge.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
thanks.
wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it's green powered new energy, and it's not going to destroy anything. It's all going to be natural.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was also already in my mind just to be on a kind of well, once I was sailing, it was on a catamaran and things, to live there, or on a caravan bus, but of course on an exclusive, on a very very good and green, just traveling around the world. So there are many options. For instance, I to get out of this apartment, I also was thinking, okay, maybe until this island shows up, I can travel around with a car and just visiting some parts of Europe. Yeah.
There are many options, you know, and the cheaper sort of ways to live. Like I don't know, you know, nomad travelers. Like there's so many YouTube videos on all sorts of different countries, because the world has changed enormously in the last decade or 2 decades, you know. And in the old days, when all certain countries were kind of undeveloped and stuff, but many countries have stepped up in such a huge way that, and because then the exchange rate is much better, you know, like if you go from Europe or Australia to all of these places like Costa Rica and or even within Europe, you know, like people live in Romania and Bulgaria, and the facilities there are so good. The food is organic, and it's also much cheaper to live, and people can afford much more. So you know, so there's so many different ways, you know, to but it is that kind of, it's kind of like you know, when I sort of think about it, is just stepping out of the old paradigm of all these old ideas and thoughts of what life should be like, and what we used to think, oh, this is a good life. And, you know, if it was a good life, okay, it has to be Germany or Italy or Australia or something. But, you know, like it's hard to let go of those kind of ideas to sort of and move. And yeah, it's interesting, but I too am so curious as to, you know, how much more it's going to change. And like, you know, Hans Christian, you've mentioned my dreams. Oh my gosh, crazy. Even last night, I'm not crazy as in crazy, but so incredibly vivid. And yes, some things also like processing, you know, working through things and stuff like that. But dreams are so vivid, and just like the possibilities as to what I can now feel, you know, like there's so many things I imagined in my life, and it was just one day, but now the reality of those things is starting to really sip in, and it's like, oh my gosh, I really actually can feel that, and that as real, and not just as an imagination. And there's such a variety of things, you know, people at the moment, you know, including Chandra, some people are going through really full-on crisis situations at the moment, even with health and stuff like that. So it's incredible that, you know, we're all of us here today are in a very, very different space with that, because we're not anymore dealing and processing things, but we really are dealing with, okay, what's the next level? You know, we processing, as in we have crisis, we have body issue crisis, we have, because what we've described, each one of us, it's not one of those huge life-threatening crises. You know, we are on the next level. We're not next level as in more, but it's kind of like we've done the hard work of all those process and integration. There's just small bits and pieces, but we are now in that space where we really are dreaming and visualizing and really working on the nitty-gritties of this new life. And I must say, like, the people that I come in contact is not really that many of us in this space, because, you know, so many, let's say Shambra too, are still caught within the relationships issue, like they're still caught in things, you know, but it seems like we're in that freedom space that, okay, we haven't resolved everything, but we're just now, okay, so how do I now create this new life with the new energy? With, it's a very, very different kind of space to be. And I'm just saying that just so that you can actually appreciate each one, that you can appreciate where you are, because very often, most often, we don't appreciate, you know, where we are and how far we've come and what we're actually just dealing with now, because these are those real new energy things that we're describing and sharing and visualizing.
Hans Christian, it's up to you.
Yeah, it's true. I'm surprised that the person from this week is not the same person from 2 weeks ago, and that was not the same person from 4 weeks ago. Not giving any judgment. There may be a step backwards in between, but the word back would not be the correct word. But definitely definitely constantly changing in because so many things are going through and moving. And yeah, and I cross my fingers that I have all the life-threatening diseases behind me, and just have some minor things going through the body, which is part of the cleansing process, and yeah, and aspects, of course, showing up, and but it's all easier. It's not that dramatic anymore. And also, when I'm sick in bed one day, I welcome this as another way of rest. while friends of mine would say they would come with the "oh, poor you" thing, you know. This is the other humans, you know, what they say, you know, I don't see this "poor you" thing, you know. I see no, my body wanted this quiet and wanted my mind to stop running around, and then suddenly there is no edge, there is no drama. Even other people would see it like that, and luckily no big dramas. That seems to be so far okay. And yeah, and the free energy thing, I have to say, I was thinking about that in 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And then I have, in a way, stopped imagining. So you all three are an inspiration today for me to start imagining more again. And but I think it is also a technically very close to appear on this planet, but there will be forces that don't want it, because every kingdom that sells oil will do everything to suppress a free energy, because then no one buys their oil anymore, if you know what I mean. So I think we, with our positive imagination of the new world, there is still the old world that's digging their heels in and try everything. And but I believe in the end they will implode and destroy themselves, like Adamus said about AI.
I'm sure about this too. Yeah, it's but you know, like Adamus mentioned too, consciousness is increasing at the planet between humanity. So, and it doesn't. What I felt about it, it's not important what the others do. It's important that we create some islands around the world where we work with free energy. And when this spreads out, there are more bigger circles and circles and circles. So once it does touch the others too. But what my impression is as well, they fight on, and then they fight against each other, and we don't have to do anything with it. So yeah.
I'm chatting a lot with Adamus about this because, for example, energy is called also power. It's interesting, no? Because the issue of this dimension is power. So, and yeah, Adamus said you need to be compassionate with the others and to have compassion, so to let free other people to do everything, no? Also with guns, wars. But my answer to Adamus is okay, but compassion for me is living in a dimension without wars or violence or something like that. So I need to be compassionate with violence people, but I'll continue to live with this kind of issue. I would like that people have compassion with me and not make a war to live well, no? To have a beautiful TV, not see wars or violence or something like that. I don't know if I understand my feeling. So I say, okay. For me, it's sometimes Adamus said, okay, if you want to go next level, you need to clean yourself about all the issues, something like that. So I'm chatting with Adam and say, okay, maybe for the new technology, this dimension need to clean by power. We need that the level of power goes less and less and less, so we can use more beautiful technologies, because every time the human discovers something, a part of humans use for wars and power, something like that. So for me, sometimes it's again, it's a very okay. I imagine a beautiful thing, and another kind of human use this beautiful thing to create wars and violence and blah blah blah. Earth, maybe before the earth needs to clean by power, and after show up very new technologies, because sometimes it's okay, there is a new technology, and for example, I love science fiction, and I love Asimov. And Asimov wrote the 3 robotic laws for robots and for AI. And there are real laws. These 3 laws are real. If people want to apply, they are real. But for example, in Wikipedia, in English version, the author said a true story. These 3 laws for robotics maybe are not applied because they are for peace, and the military don't want these 3 laws for robotics.
Mm.
And it's very interesting, because we already have a tool for use robots and artificial intelligence for good things, and not balance for robots and humans. Asimov wrote this law. It's this. You can use it and stop, but yes, the power don't want, because if you use it, the robot, it's only for the good of humanity, not for the wars or something like that.
Yeah,
It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's how I imagine AI. So for me, I quite like AI and robotic things and stuff and computers, but I imagine it as serving me, not
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah.
I imagine it is there to serve me. It's not something I have to fear. Will there be glitches? Yes, but it's not something that I have to fear or whatever. But Master Martia, I've always had these kind of questions also, like how do we create something, and then it always turns into some kind of weapon or something like that. That's been in the past, but I think it's brilliant how we've done it. And I do agree with you with your definition of genius, but what I've done instead is I said, okay, I'm a genius. I feel myself as a genius, not like you said, not as a better or worse, but just once I start feeling myself, then that kind of division goes away. It becomes a meaningless word. It is a meaningless word, but at the same time, parts of my human self do need to feel that to expand. So it's not about like someone else anymore that is a genius, but I can be a genius too in my own energy. I am, that's it. So it's irrelevant what other people are, because they don't have an effect on my energy. Only I have, and they only have an effect that I allow, or believe them to be. So a lot of words, they kind of have gone out of my vocabulary. But these kind of issues, I'm wondering, because I too deeply ponder these kind of issues. And I thought that it was brilliant that, with the new earth, the way we've created it, because what happened in the past, all of these experiences that we've had, even as we've been indigenous people, or, like let's say when we had Star Wars, you create a peaceful area, and then someone with a greater military power comes and takes over, because you haven't been investing in those in the same military to be able to fight you know, and stay free. But what is brilliant about our new creation is that now that if a person wants to feel and experience and even know the new earth, they have to raise their vibration. And by the time, you know, this term, raise vibration, whether we use this term or other term, but you know what I mean. So by the time they raise vibration, and how they raise vibration is that within them, they have to create peace so that there are no battles anymore. That's the only way each individual actually can perceive the new earth. So those people that are still battling, because battles on the outside are just the reflections of battle on the inside, they can't actually even perceive or affect the new world, the new earth. It is one individual by one individual job. So all of these things that we're creating, in some ways they do become available to mass consciousness, even, you know, mass consciousness that is still battling, but a lot of these things actually they can't even see, and also, you know, they can't even perceive them. So it's kind of like I sort of feel myself more and more in that parallel universe, because somehow, you know, I have peace, I have space, I have all of these things that other people can't even imagine, that you can live by your own creativity, or not have that Monday to Friday job, you know, to be able to pay bills and all of these kind of things that I even 10, 20 years ago, I had no idea that I could do that. And yet, you know, following this voice of your own soul is led me into this kind of, I mean, I can't say I have a castle or anything, like I live very simply, but I don't need all of those things. So perhaps, you know, there is the next level. Now it is that next level of living in this way with the free energy. That's the next level for me. I'm talking about me. And so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, that's one thing. And then another thing also with this, what I've been noticing is, you know, if I look at myself, let's say early 90s, you know, when I got a job, I was living in Sydney, and I got a job in what used to be like a huge bookshop that sold all of these things. You know, they had all these belonged to Theosophical Society, which Helena Blavatsky and all of these people established, but it was a bookstore in Sydney, very non-advertised. It wasn't advertised anywhere. But it's just that we, all of us that kind of were these people, went there and just could spend hours there. They had like these little chairs and corners, and you could just breathe in that peace and read, you know, all of these kind of things that we're talking about. And that's when all of these first peoples were start, you know, they were selling Seth books and all of that. It was like a sanctuary in the old days. So now when I last tried to find this bookshop online, it actually has closed, because they said, well, we used to need this kind of sanctuary, but now all of these ideas have become so part of mass consciousness that they are absolutely accepted everywhere. You know, like perhaps some individuals don't accept them, but they're so part of it everywhere that these kind of bookstores as a safe space are no longer needed anymore, you know, because if you look at, like, if I look at social media, all these new people that are writing, they have so much talent, and they're writing much better than I ever could, describing all these things that we live, you know, and there's, it's just an explosion of all of this. And nobody has to hide anymore. Perhaps maybe some, that I'm generalizing, maybe there are some people, individuals, maybe within the family, you know, if they're strongly religious or anything, but maybe some individuals, but in general, it is accepted, and people don't consider a person believing these things as crazy anymore, or, you know, maybe they don't think, oh, maybe they're a bit odd, but, you know, in the old days, you would really be a reject or an outsider and stuff like that, or was even unsafe. And so in the last 2 decades, this change has happened so quietly, and we didn't even like have to really do much. We didn't have to go out and protest or anything. We just quietly in the background changed our own life to live those kind of principles, you know, and started to make them real. and then somehow it kind of seeped into the mass consciousness. And as I said, even though not everyone agrees, but I think that there are more, like, if you really look at, for example, social media, that perhaps gives like a more general idea, there really are many more people that subscribe to these things now. But it's just that the official TV news are just so off now. So for example,
Yeah.
whenever I read that new official news, to me, firstly, they're disgusting. That energy is disgusting. I'm thinking, this is so away from, even like I meet people, normal people, not people in our group. I'm not hiding myself or anything. And I don't meet people that would be like that, the social, what the news are describing, so I think that there is like a much bigger percentage, much huger majority maybe, of people that believe that. It's just that we have, like, it's just that media is just giving that idea that is still like in the old days. And as then we tip the balance, then even the wars will not be acceptable, because really the wars, there are the least amount of wars there ever were, in the whole world. There really aren't, the percentage wise, like statistic wise, there aren't as many wars in a war by far, and stuff like that, so it is just that they pick on one thing and then make it, huge. Even like when I correspond, with the Russian Shambra, they are living just the same as we are. They're living in their parallel world, in their peaceful world, among that craziness, not only that craziness, but being also rejected by the rest of the world, So it, like, there's huge changes, and it's possible to live our life even amidst that craziness. So that's kind of what I've been noticing.
Yeah.
You have you've what is your feeling about
No,
that?
I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with you too, with both of you. For me, there was always at the end concerning new energy. For instance, I had also these impressions. I do create an inventor, and there was immediately this awareness there. I put into all the inventions, there's consciousness. So it never can be misused by others who are not conscious. And but I come back what I mentioned before. For me, it's most important not to look so much what mass consciousness is doing. It's very important that we are here, very stable, and we do our things, and then we radiate it out. And I think that's what's already is happening. Sorry, it's now. I got some kind of a cold yesterday. From just suddenly now, I get some thick eyes, a little bit. I'm not so concentrated anymore, but it doesn't matter. I can listen to you. But what I wanted to mention also, what you said, Marcia, about the these very special people, the how did you call it? No, it's called the genius. For me, the genius were also people who did dare with to bring their creativity on the outside. The other people just didn't dare. The potentials are there, yeah, I would say for everybody. And I was dancing. I felt an opening of potentials for myself the recent days and weeks, and I was dancing on them. It was so beautiful, but I didn't bring them until yet into my reality. There was a kind of a shyness too to bring them in. And I think was just Leonardo da Vinci and all the others, what we call genius. They were so sure about their inventions. They believed in themselves and they believed in their invention, and therefore they had the courage to bring them out. That's for me the only difference. To and also to live it.
That's beautifully described, because that's all it is, isn't it? It's just allowing the connection to the soul. Anyone's a genius as long as they allow that connection to the soul, and then they bring it. We're just redefining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I also
I saw.
sorry, you go.
No, you go.
But I also wanted to say that, yes, that's relating to, when society says this is genius, or science has now confirmed this or something, it is taking our self-authority away from us. So I both are true. Like what Master Marcia described about geniuses, for me, it's kind of like, yes, I had to take that authority to define things back. That's a huge step on this journey, isn't it? Like when I don't, it's not like I'm not waiting for science to finally confirm something before it's true or not, or a genius to, so I know in what way you were talking, and I absolutely agree with you in that way, that it's like, it's kind of like taking away that self-empowered feeling, being sovereign person within you, when this authority to make decisions, or authority to be better, or higher hierarchical things, this no longer applies, and yeah, genius was one of those things where it's taken out of our lives. We're supposed to be the little obedient workers and the little obedient consumers, and yes, master genius and master science and master king and queen, someone else decide for us. So we've had to, yes, take all of that and empower. Like, I find that everything that we say now has so many different viewpoints and perspectives and depths to it. So it's really important to kind of sort of state, which, because there's so many different views to look at something, isn't it? And all of them are absolutely true.
Yeah, in February there was a festival about artificial intelligence in Cannes, France, but you could see some gathering online, free. So I applied my free entry online, and it was very interesting because 90% of people who are working on AI are very peaceful, and they speak about for good and not for bad. And they are almost from Europe and the United States. And one of the last gathering, there was a African man, and he explained that for Africa, AI is different. The different because they want to use AI to disappear poverty. And he began his speech phrase, and it's not a Adamus quote. He said, "I am the origin of artificial intelligence." And when he said this, I said, "Oh, wow." I find someone better than Adamus. And it's true. I am the origin of AI. And oh my gosh. And it's true. So they can create what they want. And the gatherings are what about this, how we can create robotics and artificial intelligence for our good, because we are the origin.
Yeah.
And this
We
is
are the
what
creator.
And this is what, like, for example, let's say even Musk says about robots, you know, because people will say straight away, oh, they're going to take jobs. Yes, because the whole system has to change. So, for example, if robots do all the work, it's for our benefit, but it just means that the system that is based on, you know, like when there was slavery, system, you know, people would say, oh, but if we don't have slaves, all our economy is going to collapse. No, it just had to drastically change to know, you know, and it became better. So the same, if we just look at robots fitting into the society as it is now, of course it's bad, because yes, they do take people's jobs, but like, that's why, for example, people like Elon Musk, they will say, okay, we need a universal income, meaning because you see, because it's not only from our point, but it's from the point of those big billionaires and stuff, that if they, of course, for them it's cheaper to have robots working in the factory and stuff, but if then people who lost the jobs have no money to buy products that they make, it's pointless to be making those products, you see. So it's both, it's for both sides of that. Benefit for people to continue to have means by which to engage, whether they buy or however they engage in the economy, because otherwise whatever robots produce, it's pointless, because it doesn't drive economy anymore, you see, because if they just keep producing, what for who's going to buy, who's going to consume that, what they produce? So they too have invested interest in that. And so if the society does change, like this African man said, in this way, that it eliminates poverty in this way, because, you know, like then, and also hard work and boring work, you know, and people say, oh, what are we going to do when all that hard work is gone? Well, but people find these things, like, let's say, when all those old crappy jobs of what they used to have for 15 hours a day when they had to work, the miners and God knows, you know, like we're not sorry for those jobs to be gone, because people now have service industry, you have cafes, you have arts, you have, you know, like people still keep doing something, but maybe it's easier and you know, physically and whatever have you. So the economy just changes in creative ways that we perhaps haven't thought of, because when people have like you know how also in the historical times when people didn't have, you know, when people are really in survival mode, they have to just work to survive. They don't have time to ponder on the physics and the meaning of life and philosophies and all sorts of things. So when people have all of a sudden that time, you know, this creativity and art and all of this can then really blossom. And then, like you said, everyone can be then that genius, because they've been released from that imprisonment of having to work for a living and having to, you know, create these things. And I guess this, like, I just sort of had this feeling that this beautifully ties in with our ponderings of free energy, doesn't it? Because, you know, like in these robots and AI can contribute to that free energy. And the thing to do also, before when we were mentioning Adamas, you know, they only really explain back to us what we experience. So, you know, in the last few years, it's been a good thing also to notice with, you know, beings like Adamas and all of these non-physical, that they actually predict things very wrongly, because we choose, we are embodied. We are embodied, so we choose. They can just give us ideas, like, you know, how that's how I look at, let's say, Pronost. I participate in Pronost, but not because it's like a prediction what will happen. I just look at all these different ideas being thrown, but what I choose is what I choose, and then that is, you know, like, so and it's the same when he was saying things about COVID, and that was perfect, not to say put him down or anything, but it just has to do with us realizing that we are the choosers, we are physical, we live in what we choose and decide. That's what goes. So things about AI, I have expectation that many times it will still change, depending, you know, at the moment Adamus is saying, okay, so they're destroy itself, but maybe, you know, like, but it's up to us to choose. Can we use that? Utilize it, and then it won't. Then next Nostradamus will say, oh, sorry, this has changed. You know what I mean? Because, and that's how it is. They are not deciding up to, they're just throwing out all these ideas, and then we kind of ponder and look at and work them into our lives. However we're going to work them into our lives. And that's how I kind of look at AI and robots, and I play with them and practice. You know, I have no fear of them at all. Like I enjoy and I'm excited to see how it's going to improve, because I mean, just looking at last 20 years with internet and computers, you know, how dark some people were about that, you know, how bad it's going to be. And sure, there are some, but how much good as it brought. Look at us, you know, so we couldn't live without. So we can actually make it even now when there's so much consciousness available. It's even so different than 20 years ago. We have no idea even all of the things, that all of the potentials, because when this thing starts happening, you know, it's when we really see all of the implications. And like you mentioned about that African guy, you know, it's the same about Bitcoin, for example. You know, people here, like when I go to job and people will say, oh, Bitcoin's dropped down, but you know, it still came from $0 to $20,000. That's not dropping to zero. That's still just when it first came to 20,000, people were like, wow, you know, but it's actually because they don't actually see, you know, like in the Western world, there is such a small percentage of people that live under 1 billion. And for example, with Bitcoin, let's say, that's just an idea that most people don't know. But for example, let's say India, they have like a huge gross amount of their country products is made by people, expats, sending money to support their family. It's huge. I don't know, 50% of India's annual gross income as a country has to do with parts of family, individuals from different families living and working all sorts, like in United Arab, you know, all of Dubai and I don't know where. And they're the ones that send most of their pay back to families, right? And they're the ones who use, for example, Bitcoin. So people in the Western world, we kind of use Bitcoin as an investment. We buy as a share and then see it grow, but we're not actually using it as much. But people in the poor countries, they actually physically use it. And for them, for example, because it's so much more immediate. So for example, they use it to send money because it's much less they have to pay than if they did it through bank, through PayPal, through whatever. They don't get charged all that transfer fees and all of that kind of stuff. So for them, it doesn't matter whether, you know, the Bitcoin is 60,000 or 20,000, because the person sends it at 20,000. You know, the family receives it, they straight away cash it in. It's still 20,000. You see what I mean? So for them, because they don't wait for a year or a month, you know, the immediate fluctuations, and they're huge users of this. So we in West, we don't actually see that. Or like, for example, you know, this internet that the Skylink or whatever is doing. There are 2 billion people in a world that don't have access to banks, 2 billion people. And so this is what, like, for example, people like Elon Musk, and that's why, whether I like it or not, he's brilliant, because he actually notices these kind of things. And so with, for example, his new phone, which is linked straight away into cryptocurrency, and then with free internet, these people, 2 billion people that don't have access to, but everyone has a phone, you see. So he's tapping into them by providing the internet, so people don't have to rely on their governments to build cables and whatever have you. They have internet wherever they are, straight from the sky. Whether they have a dictatorship that's trying to, you know, stop the internet, doesn't matter, because they get the internet into the phone. And as soon as they get in the phone, they have access to cryptocurrency that, let's say, and straight away they can then trade globally. Straight away they have link, but before they were cut off from global trade because they don't have access to banks and they don't have access to these things. See, so these are the huge movements that people actually don't realize to do with technology, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies and AI, and we because we kind of are a little bit not isolated, but also we are in a little bit of a buffered away from billions of people that have different kind of issues and will be able to utilize these things. So I just kind of wanted, because I'm really interested in these subjects, and I kind of read all of these things and how different cultures are using, and absolutely, like Master Martia, what you said, that for Africa, like how we don't even know, because we don't know what's it like at the ground level. And that's why for me, like, the best thing is just to keep integrating, to keep playing with all these ideas, to keep allowing the free energy, because we have no idea how it affects all these billions of people.
Yeah.
I had also some imaginations corresponding to you, Marcia, with the African guy, and also with India. It permanently came into my, not into my mind, into my impressions. Get concentrated on India, because there, as we as the Western world, also with Bitcoins and new technology, normally comes from America, or we are used to it, that it's being created there. But there are so many potentials just in India. And as you mentioned also, I read so many times, there are some families in India who do support very, very much. And they are open for the totally new. They don't see IE as a danger. They are just doing it. They are open to it. And I think what my impression is as well, that this many of people from India are in a way we would say very, very intelligent. So they have the basis to deal with new technology, with new energy, but they are also from their hearts, they open their heart and they do live it. And the other thing was, I had so many impressions when closing my eyes and daydreams. It's Africa who is coming out now. It was very difficult for them until now because of their rituals, the families, and all that stuff. But now with the new generation, they get rid of this, of all of this. They are open and they come in with totally new energies, creations, possibilities, which was strange for us until now. So there will be a beautiful mixture between the East and the West there, very soon now. It's what I feel, what I sense.
You know Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon.
Yeah.
Lee Carroll, he actually stated a number of times that his next lifetime he's going to be born in Africa, because that's where the next so much movement and growth is going to happen next.
So he said it too. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Africa and India.
Yeah. So another positive note. Jim Self mentioned recently that every baby that is born after today is born with a complete different consciousness and soul connection, and they want to play the power games that our generation still plays, and when they are old enough, they will inherit the earth and do it completely different. And I see myself just as a guardian for the transition period till they are 25 years old. So I have to stay another 25 years, it looks like it.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
I love so many young people and how like their expression is so free and clean, you know, like on anything, on creativity, on music, on sexuality, and both male and female. I just love how free they are, but also how clean, you know, like because they don't know how to carry that wounded male and female. I just revel in them, like, you know, in the stuff they create, in the things how they express themselves, and both guys and women. It's just I just love it. I just love what
And
they're coming with and their energies.
and they express it with so much joy.
Yeah.
They know nature. They bring nature in it, but it's a joy of life what they are doing. That's the opposite to us very often. They express, and that's what I love too. They create, and I think it was Adams who mentioned too. I don't remember who it was, that art is very important. Where there is art, there is creation. And as I think you know, I was running my gallery of contemporary art for 21 years, and it was, well, I closed it in 2004. So yeah, 20 years ago. And let's say 30 years, 40 years ago, I had discussions with artists, but also with some collectors, with normal people and so on, and said, if there is a time, a really critical time, and people have to survive, it's art who gets them over the survival. And they're laughing at me. How can you mention something like this? Yeah, because art is creativity. And if you are creative, you have possibilities everywhere. You don't depend on politics or people like this. You see potentials, you open up potential, but these were really heavy discussions. And I watched it too in Africa and South America. They express themselves through arts, through music, and that's what them supports. Even there's very less to live on, they have the art. It's their creation coming from inside and expressing it. And this I find is, yeah, it's so fantastic. I love it. And also in South America, it's mostly, not always, but mostly a joy of life.
Because you need
And
that to be able to be creative. You need that soul connection, because that's what it is, isn't it? That's all creativity is. Again, you open that channel, and as soon as you have that soul connection, you cannot but be joyful, you know, and vulnerable. And I just find that so beautiful. Like from the time when, you know, I was young, and the adults looked so not harsh, but they were so closed and cold. Like, let's say if I look at my grandparents, they never talked about any feelings, any emotions. They were very cold and untouchable, like there was these huge walls. And now these young generations, they're just so vulnerable, and like you said, this joy of life, whatever they're creating, you know. And now they have this what we all created, this, that you can create, you know, whatever tools that you need, you have on the internet. You can make music. You don't need to go out and pay all these expensive things. Anything you can create with tools that are quite affordable, you know, and then put yourself out, you know. You don't have to, because these things were so inaccessible to normal person in the old days, you know, whether to create music or, like you said, you know, whether to create a painting and to put it out there. Even now, like, let's say you have to pay a lot of money to put in gallery, but you don't need to, because then you just create online, you see. So like which of course means a different job for people who do run gallery, or they have to reinvent themselves to fit with the new times. But I think it's just like when we look at these kind of things, the last 20 years have just been phenomenal, you know, like, and when we remind ourselves the kind of stuff that we've been able to co-create as a society, it's phenomenal. Really, it's phenomenal.
And I think this is also one important point. to co-create. People before very often were afraid of co-creation. They always thought, well, the other one does steal something else from them. We are open, so we can co-create in this. That's what I felt too. Co-creation is so important, also for my island. it's co-creation brings it to a point when everybody brings in his ideas and joy and love and potential. So that can, it's like we cook a fantastic meal, something really excellent. Yeah.
So the two of you will get together and start plotting how the boat, the super yacht, is going to transfer things.
Yeah, very good.
Why not? That's the thing. Yeah, I find that also in what I do. I've been co-creating more with others, and it's just been beautiful. Well, when I started, it was like, oh, doing it self, because it was important to really get to know self, or whether I can do it as self. But now all of a sudden it's like, okay, so that's done. Now I can co-create, and it's so much easier, and there isn't any, those old hiccups, like you said, in the old days, it was like someone may go into something different, because we're so much more easygoing, and so it just kind of flows. It's very beautiful. I find.
Yeah, I read about your with Kathy.
With Kathy.
Yeah,
Kathy,
but it was the time I wasn't at home here. I had my family stuff.
No,
So
that's fine. I mean, because you have to be resonating, like, but and that's what I mean. Like that class workshop was actually for different people. It was for different people. As I mentioned, that we're dealing with quite full on things that none of us here that are. So it's a different kind of. But Jesus, we went deep. Because it's a master's. It's not like they're any less masters. It's just that they've taken on some different things to resolve, again, like what we're doing, in a different way. It's not because we haven't been able to do it before. It's like to be able to go so deep. But it was a different kind of themed group, it's very much I find that the themes are so important today, like how people that are called together, and then we work certain things, very different themes. It's not any better or worse or anything. It's just it's quite beautiful to observe and participate in. Like, oh my God, I never had any idea of all these things. It's really incredible.
I'm looking at Hans Christian.
I was thinking the same.
I was listening. Yeah, a Shambhala friend of mine who disappeared a year ago, and I met him again, and he went in some respects he has done things I haven't done yet, but in the last 12 months he did something I did 15 years ago. And he said he went into the depth of the utmost possible pain a human soul can suffer, that he was thinking about suicide. He was just rock bottom, and a few stories deeper. And I thought, I thought you had that behind you, but he obviously hadn't, and he needed to go through this. And when I had my depression in 2002, 3, oh, it's 20 years ago. Yeah, I was close to this too, and so I realized we all go through different things at different times, and it's not linear, and it's also not comparable, and it's also not a race. So you cannot, there actually is no racetrack. You can't even say someone is more ahead or more back in a way, at least in our circles. But I realized that, yeah, there are things we all do at different times, and our soul serves them when we're ready for them. I still cross my fingers that I hope that there are not very big ones still on my plate. I hope it's little ones from now on. Yeah, but yeah, but this is what it is all about when you increase this room in this physical body consciousness for the non-physical soul. You need to throw out all this baggage. You need to make room. Yeah, that's what we're all doing. Is probably we'll do till we die in some respect, because the soul is so vast. It will always have something to throw at us.
That's for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you totally. I mean, the comparison, and that's that judgment, that's that heavy judgment that is attached, and it's so sticky and so pointless. I mean, it just gets things stuck in you, inside a person, that all have to go. And these ideas of and that's that hierarchical and power base that they talk about, is like, oh, this is better, this is worse, some person's ahead. It just is meaningless. Like when you realize that it's all now, when you really realize that it's all a buffet table where everything is already on it. It's just what they're choosing at different times, and how they're combining all these ingredients. And that's what is that one, that one that was. That's why it divided itself into so many billions of unique beings, is to have all these mixtures. And like it's like that painter, that has so many different colors, and then how you mix them together, it's absolutely unique to each person. It's not any better or worse. I mean, it only goes, like, you can use better or worse only in relation to self, oh, this potential is going to serve me better, or this is not going to be, it's not something I choose now. But comparing to other people, it becomes completely meaningless, to this kind of concept. Because, and especially now with like you mentioned, the young people, they're in a completely different space with everything. So but not just young people, also us, because we've done that work. And it is also important now, I think, to kind of differentiate, not to create a division, but when we speak about, let's say, groups like Shaumbra and whatever have you, people that have done the work, people that have that awareness and consciousness, really different laws, natural laws, apply to us, than for the people that haven't done the work. So those old laws only apply to people that are still in mass consciousness. But as soon as they do the work, it's got nothing to do with whether they're better or worse. As soon as they do the work, then they change those laws. But we do live in those parallel realities.
And Adamus mentioned also, in connection with Heaven's Cross, there is no past. And this really did shake me up too. I mean, we all know it. It's all in a present moment. It's all there, the presence and everything. It was so definite. There is no past. Yeah, in a way, this really did shake me up to reflect about it. It's all here in the now moment. And so, yeah, you all will sometimes brought this up with a buffet, with a table. I've perceived it so beautiful. It's up to me what I pick now from this table. And sometimes I made my I picked up this and this, and it didn't work out. So I thought, well, Alexis, what did you tell me? But I'm sure I wasn't conscious in this moment, or not in the present moment. So then, of course, it doesn't work out.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. For me, a lot of the times it doesn't work out. You know, you try something and it doesn't work, and it's like, and that's why it's so important to be that skill, you know, there's ability to move on very quickly, to not be stuck on something. You just put it together. Oh, it doesn't work out. Okay, I move on. And if I add those judgments, oh, I'm bad, or I'm a failure, or why didn't this work out, or maybe I'm not a master. Those are those judgments that then stick that event in your energy, and then you're stuck again. But if you don't have any of those judgments around that, it's just very quick. It's like, oh yeah, I tried this, didn't work. Okay, you know, it's like when cooking. I don't know if when you've cooked, and sometimes you try all these things, and couple of times it was unedible what I made, you know? And I had to throw it away. But other times it's just so tasty, you know. Like it's just like, okay, does it mean like twice that I couldn't eat it? Am I a bad cook? No, it doesn't mean anything. It just, well, this didn't work out, so I'll know next time. So, you know.
Thank you, Alexis, for these words, because I have this perfect aspect. Very deeply, blah 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 in my mind. And in these last years, it's not so easy for me to move in another direction, because I say, okay, I try this and it doesn't work, and all day I continue this. I have this voice that it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And yes, after many days, you listen to only this voice, and the reality is it doesn't work. And you this it doesn't work. So in this last month, many aspects pop-ups, and oh gosh, I have this perfection aspect, and if the things are not so imperfection, this aspect continue to screaming on me. I say, stop, no more. Yeah, because before, for me, it was so easy to move in a situation to another situation. But in the last years, oh my gosh, I'm stuck in that kind of situation. Also now I move in another place, but the situation is the same. And I say, okay, I try to find a home in this place, and it's not my place. Okay, I want to move in another way, no? Easier for me, but I have this say, okay, it's enough.
And you know, Adamus has just recently mentioned too, another thing with this is that, you know, because there are so many things we tried in the past and it didn't work. But it was nothing that we've done wrong. It's just there wasn't the time and the energy, work wasn't available. So he said now to now try again in this new post cross, the same thing, try the same thing again, and all of a sudden it's going to finally work.
really
Yes.
beautiful,
Yeah.
because I tried many things I loved, but nothing worked. I say, okay, I stopped, because if I do something, it's not working. But if I do something that I don't like, it's working. The job also, not because Adamo say, oh, try something, you create joy for you. Yeah, I try, but it's not working. And I for example, I did some jobs that yeah, I did it with a conscious choice, and I put myself in a good mood, even if there are not my favorite jobs. I try something to enjoy in it, but there are not my jobs, but they work. Work it out, and not the jobs I really love to do. I say something is wrong in this. But I feel sometimes I felt that yeah, it was not the time for working. So I really hope for myself that after the beginning of Heaven Cross, finally I can do what create joy in my life. Yeah, sometimes I say, okay, I'm not in the right place for do this kind of. For example, I really love to talk about death or transition. I don't like anymore the word death. But in the past, it was so impossible to work about this, because yeah, people don't want to speak about death or transition. But in the last week or last month, I say, okay, now I put myself out and say to people, I create space for speaking about death or transition in any way you want, no? Because the level of consciousness about this issue is different. For example, how you want your funeral, because people don't think about your funeral, then is in transition, and when you physical body outside your body, you see your funeral, maybe you don't want this kind of funeral, for example, no? And in the place I'm living now, the church is created for meetings and speak about death. But I feel inside, because, oh, I want to go there. I want to. But when I feel the gathering is very sad, no? In a sad mode. Okay, we're talking about death, but in a sad mode. And say, no, it's not mine. I want to speak, because when I think about transition, these all kind of events arrive to me,
Yeah.
because I had many experience about transition. So I can give my experience, my feelings to the people, to the humanity, because few people speak about the transition, no? It's a taboo in this moment. But for example, I created this website about the transition, but it's stuck. Nobody goes there. And say,
Yeah.
okay, I wait. And say, okay, I'm waiting. In some way, when the time is okay, people, not because I want a massive people, you know, that in this space there is my joy, because there are some message from my not embodied friends, because I help men to not to transition, to have a dream walker, and he gave some special messages, and really for the joy, if the people can read these messages, no, but nobody. So I say, oh, maybe after the cross 7, my space is ready, is right for the
Yeah, because people
Yeah.
have to, because maybe because of the cross, it's that thinning of the veil for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because some people
Mm.
won't notice, but I find that that's like also in the work that that I go with mental health, one of the biggest issues, but also in general with people, like I've been pondering this too, is this unawareness of soul, and the afterlife.
Yeah.
So it's very scary to think about death for a person who is still living as a separate, being as a separate. So, but once they start being aware of the soul, then that idea becomes much more okay, because it's not so fearful. So in the separated world, I noticed that people kind of live as if they're going to live forever, meaning that, meaning that they postpone things. One day I will do this, one day I will do that. They discount the fact that life is quite short, and that one day they will die. So in one hand, in this separate world, people kind of live in a fantasy as if they're going to live forever, and then they put up with things they don't want to do, and day in, day out, because one day I will be happy, but that one day then doesn't come, does it? Because they've been putting it off. So, but on the other hand, they are afraid of this death thing because precisely of that, so because they don't think there is anything behind it. And some people that have that, what they call faith, but they don't actually have the real knowledge or feeling, the real experience of the soul. And so it's really, I find that whenever people sort of want to speak about death, they find it hard unless they have that first. Always has to come back to the soul, I find, like if you can help people to feel and experience the soul first, then all of those other things come quite sort of naturally. And another thing that was interesting, with Italy, I don't know if you remember when, again, we have Adamus very present today for some reason, but he actually mentioned, when COVID started and there was that big death toll in Italy, remember, in those north parts at the beginning of
In
COVID.
Bologna.
Yeah, and he said that it was because so many people there were wanting to leave, but they didn't, especially older people, they were suffering. But because the family connections and bonds are so strong, they didn't allow themselves to leave because of the shame involved with this. So then COVID gave them, this excuse, because if they died of COVID, then the family actually became like some kind of heroes, oh, my family member, look, my grandfather, my grandma died of COVID, and they also became almost hero-like. So it gave them that exit without the shame, because it kind of carries firstly the shame of leaving, but as a failure, death is considered somehow as a failure, but also all the families, because it's so final, people talk about afterlife, but it's just faith, it's just hoping, it's not that real knowledge or experience of soul. And so then, of course, they don't want their loved ones to go and disappear into this nothingness. And so all of these kind of emotional bondages keep people alive, even when they are, suffering because of diseases and old ages. And this too is part of leaving, changing the world so there's no more suffering. So you have this dignity in death, but it really does require experience with the soul. That's what I kind of find. But it's incredible that you are choosing, that this is your passion and joy, because Italy is such a center, because you have a pope there. Is such a center for the Catholic, for a lot of people.
Because for example, many people in Italy say, oh, I wish after I die I go to the God. Oh my gosh, God is a big building and everyone wants to go there. It's go to your soul. It's sovereign. You are alone with your soul in an aspect. It's enough. No, all people want to go to God. It's like a huge building with the mass consciousness again.
But you see, because that's the thing, is that they just have no experience. and real
Yeah.
experience of soul. And that's what majority of mental health is all about, because it's that emptiness, you know, and the energy feeding, SCV virus, it all has to do because of that disconnection from soul. All of it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason for all the issues on earth. That one reason is that disconnection with soul. You can trace that back to any issue that one has, whether it's power, whether it's whatever. It all has to do with that disconnection. So when you can actually help those people to connect with, feel it for real, not just think of it, then that kind of opens them up to all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I have a friend in,
Yeah.
I have a friend in Paris who just, when I mentioned I went to the funeral of a friend, oh yeah, in my environment people die. She was working at the Goethe Institute in Paris before, and I felt, I get afraid about what's going on. If my husband is dying before me, if I do stay alone and things like this. So I wanted to write her back to her yesterday, but didn't feel good because of this kind of flu or cold and things like this. I do it now over the weekend because I also had once, but only once, a very, very beautiful near-death experience, and it was, I can say, it was just beauty, and yeah. So I have to talk with her about it, but I felt too. Also, when I met some friends and just the family from the guy who was gone, I told my friend too. You know, he's because he visited me permanently. Before I knew he did transition, he was there. He was there afterwards, and so I knew, yeah, I have to go there to maybe explain to the family. It's his body is gone, but his soul is there for, yeah, what we call is there forever. But his soul is present, is here. But they have to be open to understand it. If they are just like this in this moment, they weren't open. So, but I think we meet sometimes later, so I can explain it a little bit. But it is, and I'm sure this will be a theme, a very important theme or issue in the upcoming weeks and years and months, because people do get confronted now with it.
Absolutely. And Master Marcia, I think you'll have to create huge big classes and God knows what, because like I feel that too. It's going to become huge, so be prepared.
Yeah, I know, because Yetzmahel is the soul of this guy, and the aspect is Marco. It was very famous in Italy. And Marco, I wrote a post about it, and I know now that it's related with the Heaven's Cross. So 1 year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, I remember this like a dream, not like a real effect, because generally I remember Marco or Yetzmael like a real fact, no? But I remember this like a dream. I remember myself in a car like a passenger, and I was seeing outside the window the landscape, and Marco arrived and said me, "Are you ready? Because people will begin the ghost." Its parents died or other people, like a real thing. And this is a craziness for some people, and they need help. You are ready? And I say, yeah, I'm ready, because it's by transition. It's understand that there is not this dimension, there are something in other dimension, and Yes, and when Adamus speak about Heaven's Cross, I remember this message, and I say, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm talking about a transition every day for 24 hours. It's not problem for me, no." And he continued to say something that I don't believe anymore, because I have a dream in a particular area. And I say, okay, I put my finger in that area, but nothing happened last year. And he laughed and say, yeah, but now it's the right time for you and for them. So, and I say, okay, I continue to not believe in you, but I'm ready, because I put many energies in this my real dreams, in how I want to live a part of my life, and nothing is happened until now. But I don't want to again to put myself in this, because if it's for me, it comes to me. I don't want to think anymore. But in this last month, Yetzmal and Marco continue to say, no, it's time now. It's time now. So I say, okay, if it's time, really time now, I'm going to leave. But I don't want to think much, because, I thought much in past, because I really love to go in their situation I dreamed. So, but when I went last years, nobody, no potential popped up. So I was a little bit upset. But they spoke that it was not time.
Because also this what I feel, Master Martia, like since the first of our these Jewels of Wisdom gathering, when you participated, your energy is very different than then.
Yeah.
You have so changed, you're not, because your confidence is coming out, your determination, your mastery is coming out. You have allowed incredible amounts since the last time I spoke with you. So yes,
thank
now
you.
it's absolutely possible, but last time it wasn't so much. Sorry, Doris, you go.
No, I realized the same thing. You spoke out of my heart. I felt also this change with this openness, your vulnerability. It's just you're spreading out of energy, what you create, what you will do, and you're so open to it. And yeah, and compared with lots of choice, I wanted to say too, wow.
Oh, thank you so much, both. Thank you.
You're like a different
Really.
person. You're like a different person.
Yeah.
Which gives courage to, and encouragement and inspiration to all of us, how a person can change so quickly.
Yeah.
Thank
And the
you.
first time it was about 5-6 months ago. It's not so far away.
Completely
Yeah,
different
thank
person. And you and that your energy is now that of successful, like like potentials. You can, whatever you're saying, I believe, yes, yep, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not today, but next week definitely. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of, you've got that kind of energy, and you've been able to allow this patterning of your energy, ownership of all of this that you're saying, you're owning, while before was very nebulous and very still undefined and very much still in a world of visualization. But now it's kind of like, wow, it's here, it's physical, nearly physical. That's how it feels to me, your energy.
Yeah, it's a moment I said in the beginning. There is this moment that it's you can feel it's real, not in another dimension. It's real. It's in an opening, no? So yeah, maybe my human side is impatient, because you touch like a real, but in the reality you are not yet in there. situation. But yes, and in this last month, I said no more many times for about all my life. No more, no more.
Mm.
I continue to say no more about stuff that I don't serve me anymore.
Me
Yeah.
too. Many
And-
times. It
Yeah.
was just a releasing or a letting go the recent weeks. So many times I said, no more. No, it's real. But out of my heart, sometimes I was crying, no more. I'm done with it. No more. And afterwards, I always felt, oh, what a relief. It's
Yeah.
just, it was opening new doors. And it was the opening to my true life, to my true self, and not something taken out from somebody else or feeling guilty or things like all suffering and all that stuff. No more. I'm here in my divinity now.
And dear Doris, if you can see, you can't see, but just behind you, there is a rainbow on your wall.
Oh,
Now it's
really?
gotten stronger. Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Oh,
kind of like, woohoo. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Ah.
And Christian in his dark side.
He's the dark side. Oh, he's like oh, I'm the dark side.
Yeah.
I tell you a secret. My room is so untidy. I just couldn't show you my room.
Why not? It's
So
smart.
I made the dark background just by light and in Zoom I blur the background. So now, but if
Yeah, but
if
you
you
are
want to see a bit more,
beautiful.
it would be probably different.
Yeah.
But you are beautiful in this situation.
Thank you.
Really, really. I like it because it's all dark, but I can see your face like in a science fiction dark weather situation.
And it's coming from the world
Yeah,
of world of the dead, you know, he's coming from the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
side. It's like just his face.
Yeah.
It's
I would need
beautiful
a-
because the imagination is working very fast about your image. So it's okay. I like it.
Yeah, it's like a Star Wars movie coming
Yeah.
out of the dark.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah. But
The
old
sky
version,
came
old
out of the
version.
dark. Oh,
Oh my
gosh.
gosh. Hmm. Thank you so much for your presence.
And to you and to everyone. We've come full circle, haven't we?
Yeah, and
Yes,
thank you
we
for your presence, all three of you, and inspiring my imagination. I said this again, and inspiring the dreaming. And it was lovely to talk to you tonight.
And our next meeting is going to be now post cross. So, and I think like it's just such a productive way to get together, isn't it? And discuss things, because we just affirm with each other all the things that we're doing that can feel so nebulous otherwise.
That's really a very beautiful way to get in touch with you, because sometimes I had the impression with other people, some of them are stuck in some theories or some themes, and here it's open, it's joyful, it's open, and it's creative. And this I like so much. It's really beautiful.
And it opens us up to all these potentials, isn't it? All these new...
And you know, I got the last flu or the last thing is, I think it's also connected to Heaven's Cross, because it's just a release of everything which was stuck in my head here. It came down, literally. So this morning I said, thank you, it's fine. I accept it. And so next time it will be different. And yeah, thank you very much to all 3 of you too. Beautiful.
And for me as well, thank you very much for participating, and thank you each one, because it's a beautiful heartfelt circle that we create. And also I will send you the link to the recording tomorrow if you're okay. It's getting pretty late here. So maybe it's time again to go back to sleep, like sleep and sleep and sleep. Right?
I give you permission to sleep.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
And to dream from us here.
Yeah. And to keep opening up and create. Oh my gosh. And yeah, enjoy next week. We'll see what happens. We have no idea.
Yeah.
But let's celebrate. Why not?
Yeah.
We can celebrate on this in other realms together. So
Exactly. Yeah. All right.
We are
Thank
connected.
you very much. And
Thank you.
namaste.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Oops.